In this episode, you're going to hear about Marielis' experience with postpartum psychosis. Welcome to the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I'm Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins, a board-certified OBGYN who's been in practice for nearly 15 years. I've had the privilege of helping over 1,000 babies into this world, and I'm here to help you be calm, confident, and empowered to have a beautiful pregnancy and birth. Quick note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Check out the full disclaimer at drnicolerankins.com/disclaimer. Now let's get to it. Hello there. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. This is episode number 196. I am so glad, whether you are a new listener or a return listener, that you are spending some of your time with me today. So this episode is a bit out of order in the sense that I just had a birth story episode last week. However, with the recent story of Lindsay Clancy, I thought it was important that we talk about postpartum psychosis today. If you haven't heard, Lindsay Clancy is a mom in Massachusetts who strangled her 3 children to death. And then she tried to commit suicide. As a matter of fact, she's a paraplegic now as a result of her suicide attempt. And it's suspected that she suffered from postpartum psychosis. And in this episode, we have Marielis sharing her experience with postpartum psychosis. We actually recorded this episode back in the fall, but there were some audio issues, so we had to record it again. And I'm actually grateful that we got to record it again because I think she added some additional context and details that really give a complete and full picture of her experience with postpartum psychosis. So you're just going to learn quite a bit from this episode today. Now, just a quick overview. This was her first pregnancy, first baby. She had a pretty normal, healthy, uncomplicated pregnancy. She did have an unplanned C-section, but otherwise things were pretty straightforward. And then about a week after her baby was born, she started to feel, quote unquote, a bit weird. She subsequently was diagnosed with postpartum psychosis, and she's going to share all of those details about that journey in the episode. Now, I'm going to give it away that she is doing well. Now, today she's doing great. She was checked into a mental health facility for 6 days. When the diagnosis happened, she had subsequent therapy and treatment, and she feels like herself again and is doing well. But you're still definitely going to want to hear the details of how she got to that point today. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation with Marielis about her birth story and her experience with postpartum psychosis. All right, so Marielis, thank you again for coming onto the podcast again. The first time we recorded, unfortunately, the audio wasn't great, but your story is so important that we really need to talk about it. So I'm glad that you came back so we can do a take 2.
I'm so glad to be here and talk about this and just raise awareness about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you start off by telling us a bit about yourself and your family?
So I am from Puerto Rico, but I live in Florida. I only have one baby. She's a year old now. She just turned a year old. And first pregnancy, first birth, first everything, first time mom, everything.
All right. And you said you're from Puerto Rico, but you're where now?
Florida.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, in order to understand the birth, and really we're going to be talking a lot about your postpartum period, but let's talk about what was your pregnancy and your prenatal care like?
So pregnancy was just very smooth, nothing, no nausea, no crazy cravings, nothing, no issues at all. I had a little bit of a high thyroid, but that was about it. And I was on medication for it. I feel like I was kind of stressing out a little bit, maybe like towards the end. I was like, I don't have everything ready.
Right.
I'm the type of person I have want everything like a certain way, like the nursery and everything. So that was just a lot in the third trimester.
Gotcha. And did you see a midwife or physicians?
It was a midwife.
Midwife. Okay. And you were overall happy with the care that you received?
Yes, I was very happy with the care I received. They were incredible.
Good. So what did you do to prepare for your birth?
So I was taking birthing classes. I was doing hypnobirthing. That's what it's called, hypnobirthing. That kind of thing. I was preparing to do everything natural. I had no intentions on doing an epidural. I mean, I was doing, what ended up happening is I was doing the nitrous or something? I was doing that for a while.
Got it. And what are some things that you wanted for your birth?
I definitely wanted skin to skin, plate cord clamping. I just wanted it to be very intimate and it was in the hospital anyway, so it's not like we could have a lot of people there, but
right.
And her father.
Gotcha. So let's talk about then, what was your labor and your birth like?
I got to the hospital when I was 4 centimeters dilated. Okay. But that kind of gave me a kick. I was like, oh, wow, like I can do this.
Yeah. And how far along were you?
I was 40 weeks and 5 days.
Okay. So 5 days past your due date. Okay.
But it was, my first birth, so apparently that's normal. And so if she wasn't going to come the day after, they were like, oh, like we're going to start like induction. And I was like, no, I want natural. And they were like, right. I mean, she can't stay in there forever. Like, let's wait. And I was on nitrous. It kind of stopped working, so they put me in the shower.
Did that help? Or
yeah, it helped. I was like, I have to be like, I don't know how many centimeters, but I have to be almost ready to push, because if I'm at step 4 and I feel like I was in here forever, I must be ready.
Right.
So I go out, and then I'm only at 6.
Okay.
And we waited like another hour. I was still at 6. And we waited another hour. I was still at 6. And I was like, okay, give me the epidural. Okay. Because clearly something's not right there. So they gave me the epidural. And then a few hours later, I was at 9 centimeters.
Okay.
I was able to take a nap. So I took a nap. And then
which often helps.
Yeah. So I took a nap. And then I was at 9 centimeters for like, I don't know how many hours, like 4 hours or so. And I was, and then let's wait. Like, she's coming, and I'm like over here, like trying to force her out. I'm like, like going crazy. I'm like, no, she's coming. And they're like, well, if she doesn't come in the next 30 minutes, we're going to have to get you a C-section. Sure. And I was like, no, when I heard that news, I was just crying. I did not want to do that. I was like, no, I want to be natural. Like, I want to push her out, whatever. But she had other plans. Her head was like tilted a little bit. She couldn't get out, which was terrible, because I was just like having her stuck in there, and I just felt horrible, like for waiting that long in the first place. I was just like, I should have just got the C-section when they told me to.
Oh, well, you couldn't have known.
I know. But I was feeling bad in my head. I'm just like, so many stressors that were going on.
Right.
So, we had a C-section. Everything was fine. I breastfed her for the first time. It was just perfect.
Oh, and how did the C-section go? Was that pretty straightforward?
Pretty straightforward. Amazing doctor. The smallest incision. It was just, he did such a good job. It was a lot of fun, actually. I was like laid out on the table. They let me play like my own music, and I was just like sitting on the table, like dancing. Okay. It was a lot of fun. Everybody was like, oh my God, I love your music. Like, it was fun. It was a good time.
Okay. What kind of music were you playing? We have to know.
God. It was a whole mixture of stuff, like Spanish music. I don't know, like Lil Wayne, like just
everything. I
created this playlist for birth that was every song that I've ever memorized. Like, every song that I like know every lyric to, that's what I want singing, so that I can be distracted while I'm giving birth.
That's a smart idea,
right? I was just like, okay, I'm gonna be in another world. I'm just gonna be in my head, like somewhere else. Like, hopefully, like this is a good distraction, which it was when I was getting the seat. And I was like, like having a great old time. He was like, "Do you feel them? Do you feel something?" And I was like, "Yeah, I feel something. Like something. There's like something going on down there." And he was like, "Yeah, they're just drawing a smiley face on your stomach, a little house, a little stick figure." And I was like, "Really?" I'm like, for real? Can you take a picture of it so I can see? The whole time they were cutting me open.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh, it's done? I was like, literally, it's done? And he was like, yeah. Right. I was like, that was a good distraction. Like, you did a good job distracting me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it was a good C-section. It was fine. But I had a little bit of stress because my parents were here from Puerto Rico, and some other family, my grandma and stuff, and they were leaving, like, I think it was like 2 or 3 days after. So I was kind of like rushing to get out of the hospital, kind of.
Sure.
So, you know, I was like, I'm good, doctor, I'm good. Which I was good. I was fine. But it's just, you know, I could have stayed longer. I feel like I shouldn't have rushed out of the hospital. But I did rush out of the hospital. And then when we got home.
And you said you were breastfeeding and that was going okay?
No, they were like, she's losing a lot of weight, so we have to give her some formula. And I was just like, no. Same thing. I was like, no.
Right.
I just want it. Like, I just feel like I'm the type of person to picture something a certain way, and I want it that way. Which is what happened. So I didn't get the birth I wanted. I didn't get to breastfeed. I mean, I breastfed, but I didn't get to, like, we still gave her formula. You know, I wanted the nursery a certain way. I just had this picture in my head that I wanted it this way, and then it just had to go that way. It didn't go that way, which taught me a lot of lessons, which we'll get into. But, yeah, so I got out of the hospital as soon as I got home. I had this picture in my head again. I got home. I was with my mom and dad and my grandma, who were leaving to Puerto Rico.
Right.
But I got home and, like, my entire family was there. So it was kind of overwhelming. Some kids jumping around, and I just gave birth. Everybody was there. It was, you know, it was like, I feel like it wasn't what I pictured in my head. So, like, I'm just telling you all the stressors that I had, all the things that were happening back to back.
Yeah.
So then,
and of course they didn't mean anything, but you know, they wanted to be that. Yeah, but
didn't mean anything
but it's a lot after you have a baby to have so many people. It's a lot.
Yeah, no, of course. Like, I wanted my family to meet her. Obviously, I wanted it in my head. Like, okay, they're leaving first, so let's, you know, have like a little intimate thing. But not that I don't even think I even voiced that at any point.
Sure.
So, like, I want this. I just had this picture in my head, and you know. So then, she was here for a week. My parents were here for a week. They left. The day that they left, I didn't sleep that entire night. I couldn't sleep. Okay. I just felt like I needed to be awake in case she needed something. I just felt like I had to do it on my own. Like, nobody's going to take care of her like me, or, you know, kind of thing. And I just had that mentality. I was just like, I can't go to sleep. And so I didn't really go to sleep that night. So that whole night I was awake. And then I started having the delusions. So I had postpartum psychosis.
So tell us about that. How did that start?
So at first it was like, I felt like I was here, like, sometimes, and then I felt like I wasn't here sometimes. So it was kind of like a light switch. Like, I was here and I was present and I was able to function properly. And then I was manic for a certain amount of maybe hours or something like that. And I would feel feelings, and I can remember, like, thoughts that I was having, but, like, it was just very manic. I wanted to buy things. I wanted to go out. Like, I wanted to go, like, run away, or, like, I don't know, like people were watching me. It was just a whole, like, very manic, very, like, just in and out. Like, I wasn't in touch with reality and then sometimes I would be here and I'd be like, what did I just miss? Like, Like, listen, like, I would write myself notes. I would record myself, tell myself these things, like, relax, like, this is not true, or this is not happening, or, like, you know, try to calm myself down so that I can watch or read these things when I wasn't here, so I could not freak out.
Right.
Which I don't even know if that helped or not, but that's just what I thought in my head would help me. Like if I tell myself to relax, I'll relax or something, you know?
Right. So did you have a sense that something was off?
Yeah. So I had a sense that something was off. I told her dad. I showed her the paperwork they gave us from the hospital. Postpartum depression, postpartum blues, or baby blues, all the things that are there. But psychosis is like a sliver like this big, like just like a sentence or two, you know, kind of thing. It just wasn't very in depth. So he was just like, oh, like, it's on your head, like, just like try to, like, relax, like, you have to. And then my mom was like, oh, like, be careful because postpartum depression, da, da, da. And I was like, how do I be careful? Like, how do I, like, I can't control, like, how do I control it? You know, so I'm stressing even more, like, oh, these people think, you know, if they think I can control it, then I can probably control it. And I feel like I can't. So I thought about that kind of thing. It was just.
And were you hearing voices telling you things?
I was hearing voices. I was hearing alarms. I was hearing ambulances. I was hearing, like, it was just hallucinations, like just hallucinations. My main symptom was paranoia. I didn't want to go by the window. I didn't want to go outside. I felt like they were coming to get my baby, coming to take her. And then to some point where it was like, is my baby even here? Like, is she even real? Is she alive? Like, I haven't seen her. Like, I haven't.
Really?
Yeah, I just felt like I wasn't in tune with reality. Like, it was. So then the times where I was here and I was like in reality were getting shorter and shorter. So I was kind of like more manic and more like not here. So,
and were you sleeping at all, or
no. That was for like 2 days. I didn't sleep. And I was trying to hide all this from my mom. I was like, don't tell my mom. I know what it's like to be a mom now. I know what it's like to have for your kids. Like, don't tell my mom. And, you know, obviously they told my mom, and she basically got on a plane, got right back on the plane, came right back.
So your mom had left at that point?
Yeah, she was already gone. She was gone. Okay. And then I didn't sleep that one night. And I didn't sleep maybe like 2 or 3 days. And then she just had to come right back because they were telling her that something was definitely wrong.
Right.
So, like, I heard a few of your podcasts and other people's podcasts, and I just feel like a lot of minorities don't get the help that they need because I don't know if it's that they don't believe mental health or, like, you can control your mental health, you know, like, if they can fix it with tea or with Vic, and then, you know, I feel like people... like you can get your kids taken away if you have this kind of stuff, so we have to hide this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's a lot of so my mom felt she can come back and she can feed me food and she can get the family around. My family was around. They would always FaceTime me, call me. I wouldn't even you know, they were trying to support me in any way that they could, and it was hard for me. It was really, really, really hard for me because they would FaceTime me crying, and I'm like, why are you crying? Like, why are you guys always crying? Like, I'm just in my head, like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, they're crying because of me. Like, I did something. What did I do? Did I hurt someone? Did I hurt myself? Did I hurt my baby? I just felt like something happened that I missed. Like, I missed something because I wasn't fully here. So I was like, I felt like I missed something.
So did you ever have any thoughts of hurting your baby?
Me, no, I didn't. But a lot of people do have those thoughts. A lot of people do have those violent thoughts. I did have thoughts of like running away or like, I don't know, like people were out to get me, very, very much paranoia. I didn't have any thoughts of hurting myself, but I did question if I had hurt someone because I wasn't in my brain. I was like, I wasn't sure what had happened. So I personally didn't have thoughts of hurting myself or my baby or anything like that. I just felt like since I wasn't here, I was just worried as to like, what did I do? What will I do if I'm alone? Like, don't nobody leave me alone. Like, I couldn't have to be by someone at all times. Like, somebody had to be watching my baby at all times because I just didn't know. I didn't know who I was. I wasn't here.
And what was the time period that all of this?
So this is in the first 2 weeks that she was born. Okay. So this is the first 2 weeks. So my mom was here for a week. She left 2 or 3 days. I couldn't sleep. She came back.
Okay. And she was thinking, I'm going to help her. Because like you said, are they going to take the baby away? Are they going to, you're in the Hispanic community. I'm in the Black community. We have those communities of color. We have those concerns. Like, is somebody, is CPS going to get involved? Those kinds of things.
Exactly. So, and even, I'm not sure which podcast it was. I just remember people say that minorities get the least amount of help with this kind of stuff. I'm just like, and that was running in my head at that time. Like, is this because of like, because of this? Like, they think it's something that you can just snap out of, or, something, be careful, or, try to control, something that you can control, which that, I just couldn't, it was just out of my control completely. I just wasn't me in that time frame. I just wasn't me. And I say that to say, like, some people do have violent thoughts. Some people act violently in those cases. Some people, go to jail. Some people do get their kids taken away. Some people, it's a scary thing if you don't get the help that you need for this.
Absolutely.
So my mom came back for a few days and realized she couldn't, it wasn't something that I can control. It wasn't something that she can help. It wasn't something that anybody around me could help.
Okay.
So she took me to the hospital. First we got finally it was like a few days before we could get somebody over Zoom to help me, like to diagnose me something, and she was like, she has psychosis, you have to take her to the hospital. Like, you have to.
So was this the midwife, or was this
No. we went to the doctor for a checkup. We went to the midnight checkup, and the doctor that did my cesarean was there, and he was just like prescribed me some kind of medication, some kind of mood stabilizer, something like that. And so that wasn't enough. Like, that wasn't going. We didn't think that was going to help. Like, we didn't think. I don't even know if I even took it at any point, but we just were like, no, like that's not the solution that we needed, basically. So she was like, when the psychiatrist told me that needed to go to the hospital, that's when she was like, okay, we have to take her. And
so you were able to find a psychiatrist who saw you over Zoom.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
It was. It really was impressive. It really was. It was days before we could. They were searching for somebody that would take payment, just payment. Like, I'll pay you in full. Like, here, I'll pay you in full. Can you see her right now? It was very, very hard. And giving the symptoms or telling people the symptoms that I had, they were kind of just like, oh, take her to the hospital. But they were just like, well, let's see if we can speak. Because I kind of felt like I wanted to speak. When I had the psychosis, I was just spilling my guts. Everything came out, like everything, traumas, like every single thing that's ever happened to me, basically, like, just came out in that moment. And a lot of people say that psychosis, that this type of postpartum breaks up marriages, breaks up families, because it's just a lot of stuff goes on that you can't control.
So the psychiatrist saw you and was like, take her to the hospital right now.
Yeah. And then my mom, they took me, and I was admitted, and I was in there for 6 days.
In the psychiatric unit in the hospital.
So you have to enter through the hospital, and you have to kind of wait for, first of all, a COVID test. Second of all, a room to open up, I guess. So I was in a hallway at the hospital for I don't know how long. It felt like I was there for days. I don't know how long it was. I was in a hallway on a hospital bed, lined up with some other people that were also in a hospital bed, waiting for my COVID results to come back. So I was just kind of like going, like, people would walk by and I'd be like, do you believe in reincarnation? And like just random things, like some things that would just go on in my head. It was just, I wasn't here. It wasn't me. It was just me in my head, because I couldn't do anything or go anywhere. I was just on this little bed, just psychosis running wild in my head, basically, waiting for these results. I finally got the results back, and they put me in a room. I think they injected me with like B12 or something, like some kind of like energy to give you some energy to, see if, I don't even know, like, and they were giving me my thyroid medication, and I think they gave me mood stabilizers.
Yeah. Okay.
I was in the bed for I don't know how long as well. I don't know how, like, this, I was in there for 6 days. I don't know what part was what, but
sure.
I got a roommate, and she was like, hey, like, why don't you let me take you on a tour? Like, there's phones, you can make a phone call. And I was just like, no, I'm scared. I can't. She was like, just come. She grabbed me by the hand. She's like, just come. It's fine. She took me to the phones, and I called my sister. And I don't know how many days I've been in there now. It's been a few days. But I called my sister, and she's like, I'm actually here. Like, I dropped some clothes off for you. And I was like, you're here? Well, I want to see you. Like, I want to see you. Like, are you really here? Or are you like, or am I hallucinating? Like, because, I went through some crazy thoughts. So I'm like, is this real? Like, if you're really here, I want to see you now. She's like, well, I can't see you. It's COVID. Like, I can't see you. So, she was like, do you have a window? And I was like, thinking, and I was like, wait, yeah, there's a huge window, where, in my room. And when I look out that window, I remember that's where she dropped me off at. For some reason, I'm in psychosis, but I remember that you dropped me off there. So, go there, and I'll come over there and I'll see. I dropped the phone. I just dropped the phone. I didn't even hang it up. I just dropped it, and I ran to my room. And when I saw her around the corner, every ounce of psychosis that I had left my body. Everything just flooded back. Like, everything was just like I just felt me again. Like, I just felt like I was me when I saw her. Like, this is like, she's really here. I really hear her voice. Like, I don't hear anything but her voice. Like, everything is just, I'm just like, that was it.
Right. And then after that, you felt like yourself.
just like myself ever since then, and that was a year ago.
Dang.
Which is a really, really interesting story because a lot of people don't come back from it right away.
Right.
A lot of people don't come back from it at all. A lot of people have it and then they realize, they have like episodes,
Sure.
or it takes them months. They have to be on medication for months.
Right.
So I choose to believe that I was very, very lucky. But I did have a lot of people praying for me. A lot of people coming to visit me at the hospital. A lot of people just came to see me at the window. My baby came to see me at the window.
Right.
It was luckily I had the support that I had, and I got the help that I needed.
Sure. But you got the help you needed. So you were there for 6 days, and then were you on medication afterwards?
Yeah, so I was on medication for 6 months afterwards. They decreased it every month. It was just they were mood stabilizers, but at a very low dose because I was breastfeeding.
Sure. And then did you have a history of depression or anxiety or anything?
I've never had any history of mental health, nor does anybody in my family.
Nothing. Okay. Wow. Do you continue to see a psychiatrist, or do you feel like now things are in a good place?
I was seeing a psychiatrist for those 6 months that I was on the medication, and I was also seeing a therapist who specializes in psychosis. And I still see her. Just because therapy is good for everyone, obviously. But
that's the truth. Yes.
I've been seeing her this whole time, and continue. She was really
right. I mean, and then when you look back, like, it's just interesting to me, like how you knew something was wrong, and you were like in and out of yourself, and just like. It's just crazy. I mean,
and I just knew, and I said it from the moment I felt it. I remember the exact moment I felt it. I remember that my baby's father gave me my meds for my C-section. We just had a C-section. My Tylenol or whatever I was drinking.
Yeah, right.
Softener, that kind of stuff. And I was just like, I don't trust it. Like, I don't want to take these pills. Like, something is telling me not to take these pills. Something is telling me that you're like, I don't know, like that you're trying to poison me or something. Like, I just felt like in my head, like, no, like this is weird. And ever since then I told him, I was like, I didn't take those meds. They were on the counter because I don't want to take them. Like, something's not right, like something doesn't feel right. And he was just like watching me ever since. And then when we went to the doctor for the checkup, and he told the psychiatrist or the doctor that did my cesarean that I wasn't feeling right, that something was wrong, and he prescribed me that stuff. But I was in the doctor's office, and I was texting him, and I was like, something's not right. Like, so they're trying to take my baby. Like, when I got into that doctor's office, I knew something was wrong. Like, I was just like, no, don't leave my side. Like, he can't leave me. And because of COVID, he couldn't come in, and something's not right. There was actually a nurse there who was Colombian. She was Spanish too, and she was like, oh, you're such a strong Hispanic woman, like, like you're very, very strong and hard-headed. I know how Hispanics are. And she was just like hinting at, like, you need, if you need help, if you need anything,
sure,
say that, like, it's okay to be strong and ask for help.
Right.
She was hinting at that, and I was just like, she knows something's wrong. Like, they know, like, they're gonna take me or they're gonna take my baby. Like, it was just, that's where it all went downhill, and it was just 24/7 watch from there. They were just like,
oh my gosh,
something's not right here. So, and even through all of that, even after leaving to the hospital for 6 months, I was still able to breastfeed after, and I'm still breastfeeding after.
Oh, look at you.
I'm just so proud of it. Like, I'm just so happy about it. Like, I can still, like, I left to the hospital for 6 days, didn't pump, didn't do anything. My boobs were this big, leaking all over a hospital gown. Like, it was just so bad, and I'm still able to breastfeed, and she's healthy, and I'm healthy. And
sure.
it's so perfect ever since. Like, there's nothing... nothing, not even an ounce of like, oh, did I just hear a voice or anything?
Right. Wow. So I guess, this recent story of the woman who maybe had postpartum psychosis and killed her children, like, when you hear stories like that, how does that make you feel?
Well, I really want to talk about this. I really want to talk about this really bad. Because I feel like when I got out of the hospital, and I had just put my family through so much. I had to put on this brave face, like nothing just like nothing happened. I feel like I didn't get to deal with what I went through. And then I saw a video of what happened with her, with this woman. She was a nurse. She had 3 kids, and her husband left for 25 minutes to get takeout, and she strangled her kids. And then she tried to jump out of, or she did jump out of a balcony. She didn't die from that or anything. And she had postpartum psychosis. She was actually actively getting help for that. I don't think she was in, obviously she was home, so I don't think she was admitted or anything like that. But it just hit me so hard. It just hit me so hard that could have been me. Not that I had thoughts or anything, but, you just never know. And then I just see people like, how could you do that to your kids? And how could anybody do this? And I'm just like, it's not her. Like, it's not her. Like, it wasn't her. She wasn't there. That wasn't her. And to think that she's going to come back to herself, because this is only temporary. This only lasts like a year, or max a year. She's going to come back and she's going to realize what she did. You know what I'm saying? And it's just going to be so hard. Like, she's going to be prosecuted and all kind of stuff. And it was just so hard. Like, it was so hard to see that story. It was so hard to see the comments that people made about that. And so hard to realize, like, that happened to me. It was, I really want to raise awareness about postpartum psychosis, because it's so rare. There's not enough research on it. People don't talk about it enough because it is so rare, but it's so important. It's such a medical emergency.
Absolutely.
And it has to be treated right away. And if you don't, bad things can happen. And I'm so blessed that didn't happen to me. But
yeah. Well, how do you feel about having more children?
So my mom is like, you want more kids? Are you crazy? Like, I don't think you should. I'm like, I want more kids. I feel like I said, I feel like a lot of things happened to me that played a part into why I got the psychosis, and I feel like I've learned so much from it. The main thing being, let go of this perfect picture that you have in your head. If things don't go that way, it's okay. It's okay. Just go with the flow, relax. It's very, very important to be stress-free in your 3rd trimester. In every trimester, but mainly, I feel like mainly your 3rd, you need to be getting rest. You need to be not, reorganizing a nursery. Focus on what your body is about to go through. And plan for a C-section, even if that wasn't your plan. Because
that is true.
That didn't even cross my mind ever in a million years. Never. I was just like, that will never happen, so it's fine. Like, not even a thought ran through my head, like, I might have a C-section. No.
Yeah. And then, have you connected with anybody else who has had postpartum psychosis?
Not specifically, but I am in a group, in a psychosis group, where, just a lot of people on there who had it and who don't. I don't know. Like, the first post that I saw when I joined the group was, does anybody actually really get over postpartum psychosis? And I'm just like, people don't get over this? Like, people really, like, linger, like, that kind of lingers sometimes, like, if you're not careful, if you're not, if you're not actively looking to so. But they're, they give suggestions on ways on how to prevent it, and, being stress-free, medicating yourself before you give the birth, because you have it already. So I feel like I definitely would have kids. I would just take very, very precautions and other measures. I feel like take off work, like, trimester 2. I'm not going to work. I'm just going to relax. I'm going to just be as bossy as I can.
Gotcha.
Just move the crib just a little inch down.
Well, then, as we wrap up, then, what would be your favorite absolute piece of advice that you would give to anyone listening?
Check on your friends. Check on your family. Check on everyone that has recently given birth. Check on them. Ask them if they need anything. Even if it's an hour of sleep, if you can watch the baby for 1 hour, just to have them sleep or relax or something. Get them out of the house, invite them somewhere, or
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being so open about sharing your story. It's just really important for people to hear about this and understand and know, that this happens and that you can come back from it. I think that's really important to know you can come back from it.
As long as you're actively working on things that need to change within yourself, or drink your prenatals and
Yeah, and just to be aware of it, because it was
that's what I want to get out of this. Talking about this is more awareness on this, because it's an emergency, and so I feel like if people around the people that are giving birth also need to know about this. Everybody needs to know about this, because it could be you or a loved one of yours that you think is going through depression, postpartum depression, and it's not that. It's not just as easy as go outside or take like whatever. It's different. It's different from postpartum depression, and people don't even know that.
And that I had never heard it framed like this, and I think that's a really, really important. This is a true medical emergency. Like, we think of things like bleeding or, all of those things as an emergency. We don't necessarily think of mental health crises as an emergency, but this really is a true emergency.
Like there's people out there that have had this, that have violent thoughts to hurt anybody, themselves or anybody. So, you never know what's going to happen. Luckily, if I didn't have people around me, you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows what would have happened? If I didn't have the support around me, if it was just me and my baby home alone, like, who knows what could have happened to me? Because once I had it, I didn't even want to look at her. I didn't want to hold her. I was just like, somebody take care of her, because I'm busy trying to not be crazy.
Right.
Yeah, so I just feel like everybody should be aware of this, because it could happen to you. It could happen to anybody that doesn't suffer, has never had a history of mental health. It could happen to anybody.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Wow. Wasn't that an incredible story? I'm so glad that she is doing well today, and that Marielis is happy and healthy and was able to fully recover from her postpartum psychosis. And I so appreciate her coming on to share her story today and raise awareness about this important topic. Now, after every episode, I do something called Dr. Nicole's Notes, where I talk about my top takeaways from the conversation. And my Dr. Nicole's Notes are going to be a little bit longer in this episode, because first, I want to share a little bit about postpartum psychosis. So postpartum psychosis is relatively rare. It occurs in about 1 to 2 per 1,000 births. However, 4 million women have babies every year in the US. So that actually translates into about 4,000 cases a year of postpartum psychosis, most which we don't hear about. That risk increases with certain risk factors. The risk is higher for women who have a previous history of postpartum psychosis. It goes up to 1 in 7 births. The risk is higher in women who have a history of bipolar disorder. It's 1 in 4 births. And if a woman has a history of bipolar disorder and a family history of postpartum psychosis, those women actually have a 1 in 2 chance of having postpartum psychosis. Postpartum psychosis is most often seen in patients that have been or will be diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but it can also occur in women who have a history of major depression disorder, schizophrenia, or schizoaffective disorder. And there is a good subset of women who experience isolated postpartum psychosis that does not progress to mood or psychotic episodes outside of the postpartum time period. And that's what it seems like Marielis had. Now, psychosis, to be clear, is a disturbance in an individual's perception of reality. And it can be manifested through one or more of the following ways. One is delusions. And delusions are fixed, false beliefs, okay? And delusions in postpartum psychosis typically involve delusions surrounding the baby. Over half, about 53% of women with postpartum psychosis have delusions like their baby is ill-fated, or their baby is the devil, or someone is going to take their baby away. People also have hallucinations, which are sensory experiences without actual sensory stimulation. So you can feel things, hear things, see things, taste things, that smell things even that aren't actually there. Psychosis also involves thought disorganization and disorganized behavior. Now, most commonly, it presents within 2 weeks of childbirth. And persistent, severe insomnia, so more than just like not being able to get enough sleep when you have a new baby. It's persistent and it's severe insomnia that's actually not related to caring for the newborn. So the newborn pieces can be fine without much issue, but you're still having persistent, severe insomnia. That is often the first indication of impending postpartum psychosis. Okay, so persistent, severe insomnia is often the first indication. Interestingly, that seemed to happen in Marielis' case as well. Now, there is also an increased risk of suicide in postpartum psychosis, as well as homicidal behavior, although actually homicidal behavior is rare. So the suicide risk increases as high as 11% in women with a first episode of postpartum psychosis. And then regarding homicide, approximately 4% of women with postpartum psychosis have been found to commit infanticide or kill their children. So thankfully not very common. Now, the next point that I want to mention is that I want to reiterate this because this is something that I don't think we say a lot of in the medical profession. And honestly, it is not going to be your OBGYN who diagnoses you with postpartum psychosis. If it happens within the first 2 weeks, which is most common, you are very likely not to see your OBGYN for 6 weeks postpartum. So it very well may be your pediatrician. In the case of Marielis, they had to find another healthcare provider who was able to diagnose her. I don't know how they were able to find a psychiatrist to do a Zoom appointment that quickly, but thank goodness they did, because it probably saved her life. But I want to highlight that this is a medical emergency, all right? We don't often think of psychiatric things as being medical emergencies, but this is a really true medical emergency that needs prompt attention. So if you see someone around you, if you yourself are having difficulties, then get help quickly because it is a true medical emergency. And I totally get the hesitation potentially about seeking out mental health, especially in communities of color. I am not making it up. This isn't like you're worried for no reason that CPS may be involved, Child Protective Services. There are ample studies that show that Black folks and brown folks have CPS called or involved in their care more than white people. So I totally get that hesitation for those of you who are from those communities of color, but this is a real, true medical emergency and you want to get help for sure. And, I wish I had a better sense, or I hope we get to a point within obstetrics care that we are the ones who are checking in on folks more frequently. But know that it's probably not going to be your OBGYN who diagnoses you with this, because typically you're not going to be seen for 6 weeks. And this is going to happen within the first couple weeks after birth. And then the final thing I want to say is Marielis talked about how the stress of the nursery or the stress of how she couldn't anticipate or wasn't prepared at all for the possibility of a C-section, how those things may have weighed into her experience. We don't know what causes postpartum psychosis. And actually, there isn't evidence that stressful life events lead to postpartum psychosis. But I do think stressful life events can contribute to depression. They can contribute to your overall mental health. And in the case of birth, one of the ways to, of course, decrease the perception of stressful things is to understand what possible things can occur and be prepared for that possibility. Arming yourself with more information is not going to manifest tragedy. It just helps you to be in a better spot to deal with the ups and downs of things that may happen during your birth. Of course, listening to this podcast is a great way of doing that. But there are other things like childbirth education or reading books. Of course, you can check out the resources I have. You can come join me in the birth preparation course, drnicolerankins.com/enroll. But please educate yourself and prepare yourself for these possibilities to kind of decrease that. I'm not going to say it's going to decrease the stress, or well, and maybe it will actually, but it'll certainly help you deal with it better when you're more prepared for the possible things that may occur. All right. So there you have it. Do me a solid. Share this podcast with a friend. Sharing is caring, and everyone needs to hear about this topic in particular. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to me right now, and let me know what you think about the podcast. Leave me a review in Apple Podcast, or in this particular episode, shoot me a DM on Instagram at Dr. Nicole Rankins. I love to hear what you think about the show. And again, make sure you're prepared for birth. Head to my website, drnicolerankins.com. I have tons of resources there. Follow me on Instagram for more information. Just find sources that you trust to help you be prepared and ready for your birth. All right, so that's it for this episode. Do come on back next week, and remember that you deserve a beautiful pregnancy and birth.